Have you ever randomly come across something, maybe just a word, a memory, or a situation that instantly trigger a wave of discomfort inside you? It happened fast, almost without warning. Sometimes you feel your chest start to tighten, your stomach feels uneasy, and there's this hurt rising through your body, like somebody inside wants to jump out. And then, without even trying, your mind starts speaking. Don't talk about that. Just stop thinking about it. At that point, you feel so uncomfortable that it's hard to sit still, and your body becomes restless. You want to walk away or do anything to escape that feeling. It almost feels like you are no longer in control, and all of it starts with just one small moment. I think every one of us has experienced this, even if we don't always talk about it. It may be when someone gently gives you feedback, or when they correct you something you said bad and they tell you forgot. Even if they're not trying to hurt you, that moment can still sting. Instead of feeling thankful for their help, something inside us feels exposed, maybe even a little offended. Other times, it's when someone says something that unintentionally reminds us of a painful memory or part of ourselves that we don't feel proud of. Suddenly, we find ourselves overreacting, not to what they said in that moment, but something deeper that we've been carrying. In those moments like that, we often blame ourselves for not being good enough, or we get defensive and start resenting the person who triggered the feeling, even though they didn't mean to. It's hard to admit, but sometimes we hate to being corrected, not because we are selfish and we hate others, we mean, but because deep down we're afraid of looking weak or flawed in front of others. Or there's a moment when we want to show up with confidence. We want to appear strong, composed, and capable, maybe during a group presentation, or conversations with someone we respect, or even a casual moment where we hope people see the best version of us. We speak up, hope to leave a good impression in front of everyone, but just as the words begin to leave our mouths, we forget what we were about to say. Our voice stumbles, our mind blanks, and in that instant, it feels like everything unravels. That moment doesn't just feel like a small mistake, it hits something deeper. Shame quietly creeps in, like a heavy weight moving through our chest, and instead of being kind or patient with ourselves, we shut down, we stop talking, and we pull back. We're trying to hide the facts that we are embarrassed, that we felt small. We start blaming ourselves, repeating thoughts like, why can't I just say things right? Or I'm not as good as everyone else. And before we even realize it, we turn against ourselves for something as human beings nervous or imperfect. There's the kind of moments that don't just come and go, they stay with us, that somehow replay later in our minds when we were alone, or when we're trying to sleep, or when we're thinking about how we could have done better. And sometimes it doesn't even take a big moment to trigger us. It could be just a few words from someone. Maybe someone says something that seemed completely harmless from their side, but first, it stirred up a discomfort we couldn't explain. And we find ourselves suddenly feel irritated, maybe even angry at the person who said it. But deep down, if we pause long enough to be honest, to slow down just a little, and start asking myself questions. Where this coming from? Why did I react that way? Just don't ask those questions with pressures. Ask them gently, knowing that I don't need the answer right away, because sometimes asking is enough. I think it's a way to show that I'm willing to listen to myself, to be curious instead of critical. And that alone, I think, is good enough for healing, for listening. Here's something really interesting about asking questions, and it's backed by science, is that researchers have found that when we raise the questions, then let it go, our brain actually keeps working on it behind the scenes. There's something called the default mode network, means something our brains that becomes active when we're not focused on anything in particular, like when we're taking a shower, walking outside, or do something repetitive like washing dishes or folding laundry. During those quiet moments, even though we're not trying to figure anything out, our brain is actually doing deep work. It's sorting through our memories, connecting emotional dots, and gently looking for answers we didn't even know we were ready to find. That's why sometimes the answers we've been looking for showed up when we least expected them. Out of nowhere, we get a flash of insight, remember something important, and we suddenly understand why something hurt us so deeply. That's not magic. I think it's the mind doing what it's designed to do. So when I ask myself, where is this coming from? I don't need the answer immediately. I just put the questions like there, just like a seed, and trust that something inside me will keep working on it, even when I'm not aware of it. And I think it is so important to understand because we live in a world that pushes us to solve, to fix, and to know, deserve to know the answer, deserve to know more about ourselves. I think negative, resentful feelings or emotions we have are like a thorn stuck in our hands. We may try to ignore it, hoping it will stop hurting, but every time we accidentally bump into something, the pain comes rushing back. It isn't until we stop and look at it closely that we finally understand where it's coming from, and at that time, we know how to gently remove it. Or maybe it's like in a living room that's never get cleaned. At first, we don't notice the dust, but over time, it builds up and it starts to affect on our mood, our space, and everything else. We can't fix it without first asking, why is it so dusty in there? And only that question is what actually leads we to take the actions. Our emotions work the same way. When we avoid them, they don't disappear. They just hide, waiting for the right moment to come back up. That's why I think asking gentle, honest questions is such a powerful first step for solving the problem. It's not actually about solving everything right now. It's actually about showing up for yourself, about being willing to say that I may not know the answer just yet, but I'm open to understand what it is. I believe that every one of us carries something, some pains, some insecurity, or some part of themselves they are still trying to understand. But what makes the difference is whether or not we choose to face it, whether we choose to hide it, or meet it with curiosity. But I know one thing is that when we stop hiding and start asking, we begin the process of becoming who we truly are. And that journey isn't easy, but it's worth it. As far as I know that the uncomfortable feelings you've been carrying, they're not here to punish you. They're somehow to remind you that you are still learning, still growing, and that there's something inside you that deserves to be seen and cared for. So I think if you are in having some kind of hard moment right now, or something has been bothering you or making you feel small, I want you to know that you are not alone. I see you and I hear you, and I believe that we are all strong enough to face what's inside us, not all at once, but slowly, gently, at our own pace. All it takes is just one small question, and I believe that questions may be the start of something powerful, like I used to figure it out, like I had experience. Thank you for being here, and I hope you have an amazing and a productive day ahead. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.